Hello everyone, the first 3 episodes of season 3 of Bad Batch has just been released, so let's get into it and talk about it. Now, Disney Plus released the first 3 episodes of Bad Batch. With this being a 15 episode series, it's going to be releasing week by week, but they've released the first 3 episodes. And with the title of this video, is this show worth keeping an eye out? Is this worth the watch? Honestly, if you're a Star Wars fan, if you have seen pretty much everything when it comes to Star Wars, season 3 is as good as the first 2 seasons so far, in my opinion. I am enjoying the lore, I'm enjoying what they're doing so far. When it comes to like the Star Wars animated stuff, like you got Clone Wars, you got Rebels, you've got the Bad Batch. Honestly, they're one of the stronger parts of Star Wars in terms of the whole Star Wars universe. But before we dive into the review, if you are new to the channel, do consider hitting that subscribe button as we talk about movies, we talk about series, we do weekly entertainment news videos, talking about all the latest movie and TV related stuff, along with some tier ranking, whole bunch of different types of stuff. So if you do like that type of content, do consider hitting that subscribe button as we're on our way to try and reach 400 subscriber goal, with tons of content coming out, especially in the month of March. So do hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, hit that notification bell, all that YouTube stuff here, and also keep an eye out. There is going to be a review for the Constellation show that's coming out on the Apple Plus series, so that one, keep an eye out on that as well. And I also want to hear from you guys as well. If you've seen the first 3 episodes, what are your thoughts? If you're a fan of the Bad Batch show, do you enjoy it? What are your thoughts so far on the first 3 episodes comparable to the first 2 seasons? Please let me know all of that in the comment section down below here. Now, with this show focusing on like those rogue clones that you got introduced in the Clone Wars animated show, and just seeing that turn, because if you've always been wondering how it goes from the clones to stormtroopers, then this show really delves into that. And season 2, the lore when it comes to the clones was handled so well that I really enjoyed the writing for that. And then with this, obviously we're only talking about the first 3 episodes. I'm going to do a full review when the show finishes, but with the first 3 episodes, you get to see that continuation from the previous season and how you go from like the clones fighting in the Clone Wars with the Jedi to then executing Order 66 to now then just being replaced, and the continuation like I said in season 2. I love what they're doing with these clones, and you just get so enamored with it. You're so glued to the screen, you're invested with the characters, and I think that that's one of the strongest points with the show. Not only are you invested with the main cast, but of course the side clone characters as well that you're really invested with. Of course, you're focusing with Crosshair too, who is one of the characters in the show, going from one of like the villains of the show, going from like a hated aspect because of the decisions he did in season 1 to then focusing slowly on his character arc in season 2. And I'm loving what they're doing with him so far in season 3 in the first 3 episodes. There's this great chemistry between him and Omega, because obviously if you haven't seen the show, what happens with season 2, at the end of season 2, of course Omega gets captured. Now with the first 3 episodes, this is going to be like spoiler free, so I'm not going to dive into all the details and everything in the first 3 episodes, but of course if you've seen season 2, you know what happens. Omega gets captured by the Empire, and so she's in this location where Crosshair is, but you get this amazing chemistry with the two of them that actually works really well. I really do enjoy the character aspect with Crosshair. I think that he's written so well from the very beginning to now. It was so organic with his character development that I really have my eye on him, of course, when it comes to his journey from this to the end of the season. Now, in terms of the first 3 episodes, because obviously we're just focusing on the first 3 episodes, there isn't really much you can talk about when it comes to like the rest of the show. In terms of this, it is a little bit slow paced when it comes to the first 2 episodes, especially because you're focusing on Omega and like the day-to-day activities and what's going on with her being in this facility. And so there's not really much in terms of action or set pieces or anything like that. However, when it comes to the second episode, I feel like that one is a bit more faster paced, but not really much focusing in terms of the main story of what's going on here. So episode 1, you're focusing in Omega and Crosshair and that journey. Episode 2, you've got the crew, the Bad Batch crew. They're in this desolated planet trying to get information, but more or less they're just focusing on fighting this creature that's in this planet. So episode 2, I feel like is probably the weakest out of the first 3 episodes because of that just feeling like sort of a random kind of filler episodes with not much focusing in on the main story. Now, that's a given when it comes to this show, because the show itself, you get 16 episodes, 15 to 16 episodes per season, but then as the show or the season progresses, you do focus a lot on some random episode. Like, for example, last season, there was an episode where you got the crew helping Sid in this like racetrack thingy, similar to like Phantom of the Menace kind of thing, where you've got these like race cars going around. And then there's some other episodes that didn't really tie into like the main plot, which I don't mind because you do get that nice break from what's going on with the main story. Now obviously the main story, the main focus is what you're here for, and it's so intriguing when you get ramped up in this story. But then when you've got these side missions or these side quests or these like filler episodes as you call them, I think the writing is well done, but it's not one I'm too heavily invested in. Like, I couldn't remember much from episode 2, even though I've literally just finished binge watching of the first 3 episodes. My main standout is probably episode 3 and then episode 1 because of like the tie-in for that. But obviously episode 2 was still a solid episode. But of course episode 3 is probably my favorite so far with what they're doing. Now again, I'm not going to spoil anything if you haven't checked out the episode yet, but if you've seen the episode, the whole third act and what's going on with that I think was so brilliant. Now I definitely don't think it's probably the peakest in terms of the show, but it's definitely the strongest and it's setting up for what's going to be a really entertaining rest of the season. I'm loving what they're doing. Now this isn't really a spoiler because you see it in the trailer, but you get the return of Palpatine and you get some great little Easter eggs that's tying into like the Mandalorian show. So you've got the main focus of like the whole cloning storyline and the cloning aspect, and you've got like little hints. So with Palpatine, you've got these like guards that are with him, which I believe are very similar to the guards that you saw in the Mandalorian show, like with the final couple of episodes when you've got these red suited guards. So those little Easter eggs, those little tie-ins to that, and of course the cloning aspect that's also getting tied into the Mandalorian. So they are building things that are going to be explored in like later shows, which I really enjoy. And of course just seeing Palpatine return is always a joy to see. But when it comes to, like I said, the slow build up to the first 2 episodes, it gets forgotten about in episode 3 because you've got like small little details as well that's tying in from episode 1 goes back to episode 3, like just these little subtle differences, these subtle things that happen get brought back and just well designed, honestly, like from the whole thing that Omega has to do in episode 1, tying it all back to episode 3. So it's sort of this 3 episode arc that you're going on with this show, and while you have to be patient, you have to be bearing with the slow build up where you don't get much action when it comes to the first couple of episodes, it all ties into the 3rd episode and it's just handled so well with everything being written and tying into everything. It honestly makes it worth the wait and worth the watch. I feel like binge watching it with the first 3 episodes does make a difference, because I feel like if they only released episode 1 now, I don't think there would be much hype or much excitement or much praise when it comes to the show. When it comes to season 3, if it was just the first episode or even just the first 2 episodes, I feel like releasing all 3 at once, having that 3 episode arc worked really well in the favor of Star Wars. And like I mentioned in the beginning, the animated stuff when it comes to Star Wars, like Clone Wars, Rebels, Bad Batch, these are one of the best written stuff when it comes to Star Wars other than the original trilogy here. So far, I'm loving what they're doing with the show. They're definitely building for some grand scale things towards the latter half of the show, and I'm all on board for it. So I'm really excited to follow these character journeys, to follow Crosshair's character arc, to follow Omega, who honestly feels like she's grown up a little bit more compared to the first 2 seasons. And then also on the other side of things here with the other Bad Batch crew and how that's all going to tie in together, especially with the cloning storyline. This is going to make for probably the best season of Bad Batch, even though season 1 and 2 were such strong contenders. So again, if you've seen the first 3 episodes, what are your thoughts? Let me know down in the comment section below. Which episode is your standout and your favorite? Which episode is your least favorite? What do you think they're building towards and how it's going to end towards the latter half of the season? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. But that about wraps it up for this video, for this review. Again, I'm going to do a full in-depth review towards the end when the season wraps up, so keep an eye out on that. And also in terms of other reviews, so we're going to have the Constellation Apple series coming out. The first 3 episodes have been released, so there's going to be a review for that most likely tomorrow. Along with that, we're going to have the Dune review, we're going to have Kung Fu Panda, the retrospective reviews, along with the Godzilla retrospective reviews in time for Godzilla X Kong. So much content coming up in the month of March, so definitely keep an eye out on the channel. But thank you all so much for watching, thank you so much for listening. This is YK Reviews. Peace.